Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Electricity Canada's Conversation webinar series. My name is Farhan Mirza, and I'm pleased to be your host for today's webinar. Electricity Canada is the national voice for sustainable electricity for the members and the customers that they serve. I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which I am broadcasting you from today is the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. The Algonquin peoples have lived on this land since time immemorial, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be present in this territory. I'd also like to recognize Canada as the land of the First People, Inuit and Métis. I would like to pay homage to the Indigenous peoples past, present, and future that continue to work, educate, and contribute to the strength of our country. I would like to recognize that the land is shared through historic treaties, developed through contemporary treaties, and one that continues to be unceded territory. The Conversation series features presentations from Electricity Canada's corporate partners, and the series will highlight a variety of Canadian and international solutions to current and future challenges faced by our industry. Working with our partners, these webinars have been developed to be a specific interest to those working in the electric utility space from generation through to the customer. For a list of upcoming sessions, please check out our website at electricity.ca. Before we get going, there are a few housekeeping items I'd like to go over. Our session today is scheduled to go from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Questions can be asked, and we would encourage you to do so as they come to mind by typing them into the questions function on the screen, and we're going to ask them at the end of the session. And finally, a brief survey will be sent to webinar participants following the session today. We'd love to hear your feedback candidly and are interested in any topics that you'd like to see in the Conversation series in the future. Also, please keep an eye out for future webinars and events through our newsletter, Current Affairs, which goes out monthly. About over 4,000 subscribers, Current Affairs is the place to go for Canadian industry news as we connect the national value chain from generation through the customer. We'd like to receive Current Affairs. You can subscribe to this free publication on our website again at electricity.ca. That out of the way, I'd like to welcome PowerTrunk to today's conversation series, who are going to be talking to us about integrating mission-critical voice and data communications to the smart grid. Utilities provide essential services to the public and must continually find ways to maintain a demandingly high level of service reliability, even in case of disaster. Lights must stay on, hospitals and medical centers must quickly be restored from electrical outages, nuclear power plants incidents must be dealt with swiftly and accurately, and downed wires must be isolated and de-energized to quickly minimize danger. Tetra Solutions provides mission-critical voice and data communication for features as well as lone worker man-down functionality and apps for dispatch and SCADA. Our presenters today from PowerTrunk are Ignacio Cayenne, Senior VP of Sales, and Jesus Borobia, Business Development Manager. Gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you to the Conversation series, and we can turn the webinar over to you.
Thank you very much, Farhan, for your kind introduction and for the perfect pronunciation of my surname. You made with a Spanish accent, Cayenne, because I am somehow known myself by Calen. It's bothering not me myself, but just to my mother. So thanks so much to Electricity Canada for giving us the chance to provide this webinar, and to the attendees that have been so kind to come to this speech. Good afternoon to the guys here in in East Canada, and good morning to the ones in West Canada. As commented by Mr. Farhan, this is Ignacio Cayenne, or Calen, Senior VP Sales in PowerTrunk for North America. I will be providing a short introduction about the company, and my colleague Jesus will be taking care of the most technical contents of the presentation. Next. Well, PowerTrunk is a company that provides turnkey radio solutions based on standards, both Tetra and 3GPP, in terms of wireless communication systems for mission-critical applications. We can provide the full projects, including the RAN, the core, the command and control, the end-user equipment. And besides that, we cover not only utilities, also transportation, public safety, other vertical markets. But utilities becoming more and more important in the strategy of the company, and we're trying to accommodate our solutions according to the requirements of the utilities. Next. This year is the 50th anniversary of Teltronic, the mother company of PowerTrunk. So it means that 50 years developing and manufacturing professional mobile radio solutions. We have presence in more than 60 countries with more than 500 network references, most of them based on Tetra technology. And the success of the company is mainly because of the flexibility, technical independence. All of our products are developed and manufactured in our headquarters in Spain or from our British partner Sepura in UK. And normally not every single product or project demands something special software in the radios, special API in the core, and that's why probably PowerTrunk and Teltronic, our mother company, are successful. Headquarters in US are in Jersey City. Here in Canada, our main office is in Montreal, and we have also a commercial office in Aurora. We have a project management team of 5 engineers here in Canada. Total number of employees in PowerTrunk, 400 employees worldwide basis at Teltronic headquarters. Next. As commented, we are a worldwide leader in these critical communication solutions, 50 years. Next. And in the land mobile radio business, we cover utilities, critical infrastructures, public safety, transportation, ports, airports, mining, oil and gas, such kind of customers that cannot rely on cellular services for their mission critical applications. So normally, and more every day, it's not only public safety, it's also transportation and utilities. So the lives are in danger and you need to provide service in immediate time. You need to have 4 or sometimes even 5 nines availability. That's why you need the private radio solutions, regardless the technology. We have a large number of contracts in US and Canada. Our presence in Canada in terms of utilities, we have a large Tetra system in BC Hydro. We have 2 Tetra networks in OPG, in Ontario Power Generation, projects in mining with Agnico Eagle, large transportation contracts like in TTC in Toronto or STM and REM. STM is the Montreal Metro, other mining project with New Gold. And in US also we have a significant number of contracts, mainly in transportation, and the most important ones in utilities, as diverse power, cooperative energy, clean energies. Some of them has been covered by Jesus in this presentation. Next. Okay, thanks. I pass the floor to Mr. Jesus. Jesus, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ignacio, and thank you very much, Farhan, for the opportunity. And let's start talking about PowerTrunk turnkey solutions. As Ignacio, my colleague, commented before, we don't sell the box. We try to accompany the client from the beginning till the very end of the project. It's completed. As we can see, use cases requires customized network solutions. PowerTrunk help the client and adapt the solution to the needs. Appropriate radio design, dimensioning the network for the client, and also the system operation. Let's take a look for this timeline. We will be covering all the different periods till we reach finally the right solution, right? First of all, identifying the areas of interest. Depending on the client, depending on the area, depending on the zone, the client may need, the user may need coverage, Tetra or private grade network on different areas, as we can see in these images. After identifying these areas of interest, we have to analyze the service requirements. Let's take a look, for example, on this list: real-time CCTV from remote pipelines, monitoring of different IoT sensoring data, or remote control of autonomous systems. After analyzing those requirements, we have to know the number and the distribution of the users. This is the example we will talk after of one of our references. In the case of this state, we have to know the number of the users, the number of the final base stations, the number of the distribution of the network that the end user will be using. And finally, the preliminary coverage design that will be different for each different zone. We have to consider different points as the frequencies that are available in that country, in that area, in that region. Of course, the reuse of possible frequency channels that are in that area before the project starts, and of course, adequating the radio equipment to that specific project. After doing all of these previous steps, we will reach the right solution. Let's take a look of what are private mobile networks. In this sector, in this utility sector, there are some challenges that are really important for the sector to keep growing and do the correct operations. Of course, mission critical communications in this sector, the communications are critical because they must happen. We think that they have to be safe, reliable, and always in service. There's no chance that two workers or two operation mates can't communicate between themselves. That communication must happen. Of course, looking also at cybersecurity. The second point, the second challenge, potential for growth. Maybe the X project will grow in the future. There is the need of adapting the network in the future years, the future period coming, and we must ensure the scalability, or networks must ensure the scalability and the capacity, of course, of increasing the size of the system, not only the size or not only the area coverage, but also the possibility of adding new terminals, adding new systems inside of them. Also, beyond voice, we know that data and networks are evolving through to each time the networks are going to send more and more data using more or less bandwidth. We'll see it, but the availability has to be there. Also, the integration with applications. For example, we can see SCADA applications. We will see some examples in the next slides. Also, location-based solutions for locating different vehicles or locating different whatever. And finally, hybrid capabilities for the network. There's the possibility also not to have only one system in your network, but to share the whole network between different systems. And of course, the last challenge, it's the most common one in every sector: cost effectiveness, minimizing the total cost of ownership and improving the service of the final users. What about TETRA? TETRA stands for Terrestrial Trunk Radio, and it's a standard defined by ETSI, the European Telecommunication Standards Institute, and it was created for this kind of sectors: public safety, transportation, utilities, oil and gas, or mining, for example. And security and availability are key aspects of this TETRA standard. TETRA standard gives a unified high-end solution for small to big public systems because of we will see, capability of growing the network, keeping the basic characteristics of PMR, such as direct mode communication or group calls. Why TETRA for utilities? Of course, it's
just a comment from my side, Jesus. TETRA is, let's say, considered the most popular standard for digital trunk radio worldwide basis, no? So it has presence in almost every country in the world. But it's less popular in North America by several reasons. So in terms of public safety, there is an adoption of an alternative standard that is P25. But in terms of functionality, in terms of security, in terms of data throughput, in terms of pricing, is definitely much more cost effective. And somehow PowerTrunk is the leader here in North America, but I will be inviting you to visit the public webs like Critical Communication Association and others to realize the importance of the TETRA standard, particularly also in the utility market. So it's not a proprietary technology. There are more than 10 vendors that provides solutions based on this technology. Sorry, Jesus, please continue.
Thank you for the comments, Ignacio. As I was saying, why TETRA for utilities? There are, as Ignacio commented, some different standards that may be used, but Tetra, it's a proven technology, an amateur technology, and it has the capabilities that the users may need in their operations, as well as, of course, the security and the availability we were talking before, and Ignacio commented just now. We can see that you can establish a special talk group to address specific needs during the operations, or we will see now a list of the only voice functionalities that are possible with Tetra. We can see we can have a fast check of individual group, have duplex calls, broadcast calls, ambience listening, of course, direct mode operation repeater, gateway handovers, priority calls, data entry. Well, we can check this list that only shows the voice part, because Tetra it's not only voice, it's also the data functionalities. As we can see here, Tetra, it's a narrowband private mobile radio technology that can be used for voice, but also for data. Let's take a look. Standard data transmission options. There's the possibility of status messages, also SDS with different type of messages, concatenated SDS, packet mode, shaping mode, and also the location data that will be very important in some specific applications. We will comment after some slides. For example, the SDM based, which is an algorithm that can recollect information of the location from some points, and it has different interesting applications that, as for example, sending a keep alive message to a point in order to prevent the time of an outage to be reduced. That's the key point. Also, there's some applications, as I was commenting. For example, SCADA integration. Let's take a look of these images. There's a IP network that, through a SCADA protocol conversion and N2A third-party applications, it's possible to connect those SCADA applications through the Tetra network, and of course, integrating SCADA and RT units with SDM, as I was commenting before, for telemetry, remote control, and keep alive tokens optimization.
Just trying to give an example here, no? The keep alive, no? So you may need, let's say, hundreds of alarms per day, but the way to find if there is a shortage on the electricity is checking if the RTU, we may have hundreds, thousands, is alive or no. In a normal radio system, it can take hours, such full polling of this keep alive. With the Tetra technology, in this synchronous data manager commented by Jesus, it can be done in, let's say, 4-5 seconds. So it means that in the calculation of the SAIDI, no, I mean the detection time of the failure can be few seconds versus traditional system where you may need hours. No, if the restoration time is the restoration time, but you can definitely improve your KPIs to your municipality, to your province, to your customers, using the same radio system that you are having for the communication, for voice calls between the maintenance teams, operations, etc. No? So it's nobody knows well all the capabilities that Tetra provides in terms of data. Definitively, it's a narrowband technology. You cannot transmit real video streaming over channel is 25 kilohertz. But for slabs of Tetra, you can have 20 kbps for, let's say, classical or traditional SIG with mode data or with packet data. I have problems with my video. Unfortunately, it's not working now. Sorry for that, because I was receiving invitation for the video, but sadly it's not working. I think Jesus is much more handsome than me. Sorry for the problem. So as these data capabilities, we talk about multi-slot packet data, 10Ks, and with the gateways or conversions with the typical SCADA protocols to Tetra. you can, let's say, excuse, you can optimize a lot using the free slots that you may have in the radio system for voice for sending a lot of data applications. Please continue, Jesus. Thank you.
Thank you, Ignacio. Let's sink into directly to our Tetra solution, PowerTrunk T infrastructure. We have been talking about what is Tetra, what are private network solutions, why to use Tetra instead of other possible standards, and let's show our portfolio in Tetra. Let's start with the PowerTrunk T Run, which are the base stations. We have some different models, MBS, BSR, are of course the technical solutions that you can see there the details. Let's talk now about the PowerTrunk T Tetra Core. There you can see the capabilities, virtualized platform based in COTS hardware, the scalability we were talking before, cyber secure, redundancy possibility, multiple agency configuration, SDM, Nacho was talking before, M2A applications, and different other gateways to connect between other kind of systems. And finally, our management tools, NMS and NPA. NMS stands for Network Management System, and NPA, Network Performance Analyzer. We'll talk about them in a few slides. This is the potential for growth we were talking before. Our PowerTrunk T system has the possibility of being distributed software switching matrix. There's no need for centralized hardware. There's the possibility of having a redundant node. There's the possibility of connecting different segments. This implies that the network is very, very flexible and scalable. And of course, it can continue increasing process and switching capability. Also, some numbers here from a single site up to 128 channels capacity, which are 32 Tetra carriers, to a regional multi-site with 128 SBS, which stands for our base stations, and 1,000 carriers. This you can see means that you can have a Tetra network covering a very small area to examples that may be nationwide areas, right? There you can see the database up to 140,000 users, 100,000 users, and the interconnection of several central switches for very large networks I was talking to you about, to connect different segments up to a very large number of base stations.
In PowerTrunk Teltronic, we have contracts of more than 1,000 base stations, mainly for public safety. But the important here is that the availability figures. No, every single element of our Tetra system can be redundant. You can have a geographical redundancy of the core. You can have redundancy on the repeaters. You can have N+1 or 1+1 redundancy of the power supply system, of the switches, even the backhaul. You can have different kind of synchronous or asynchronous links. You may have also for remote areas where you may don't have radio coverage, you can have cell on wheels base station connected through satellite links, LEO or GEO. So a lot of potential, and as commented by Jesus, a single architecture for small projects, for covering a full state, or even for connecting different states together. Thank you, Jesus.
That's a very, very key point. The flexibility of the network, as Ignacio was commenting, the capability of having redundant everything in the network means a lot. There are a lot of different scenarios, possible scenarios in the vertical markets we work in. So this is a very, very key point. Thank you, Ignacio, for the comments. Now let's see. These are our terminals, our handheld radios. As you can see from our Sepura in UK. These are the SC Sega, SC20, 21, and 23. Let's take a fast look of some of the capabilities of these handheld radios. Of course, the key point of robust and rich materials, outstanding performance in the harshest working environments, also different capabilities of connectivity as Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and the most important points, which are the clear and concise audio. In these scenarios, not only the network has to be capable of connecting and making the communication possible between people, but also the audio must be clear and concise, and also, of course, the user-friendly interface, the smart menu, and the resolution screens are make this a very good material.
Just a comment here about the audio quality. Probably the aspect that customers find when you deploy a Tetra system for them is the super audio quality, even in extremely noisy environments. So you can have, imagine an airport, you can have a helicopter, equipment in a helicopter with all the noise that you are there, is crystal clear. You can identify perfectly who is talking. And this is due to the vocoder defined by Etsy years ago for the digitalization of the voice. So they have not been invented any best vocoder for land mobile radio business than the Tetra one. No? So this is real crystal clear. Thank you, Jesus, please continue.
And also these other examples, Tetra Mobile Radio SCG22, that can has a glass-green improved performance, 10 watts of RF power, DMO gateway or repeater, and also IP 54 and 67, optional console and control unit. Also different types of connectivity and user-friendly, and of course the device management with the management tool we will see in a few slides.
Well, you mentioned something important, is the DMO gateway or repeater. What is that? Definitively, normally when you are defining a network, normally the typical parameters is 90% of the time, 90% of the coverage to be fulfilled. No? But you always may have some areas where you don't have communication. So Tetra radio, mobile unit, 10 watts of radio frequency output power, can work either as a DMO gateway, so it means that it can be acting as a bridge for some handhelds that they cannot see, they cannot be registered in the base station. So you may have this mobile unit registered in a nearest base station and using that as a gateway to reach that. Or even in special operations where you may have a DMO repeater. In that case, the radio can be working as a normal repeater and all the radios are working in DMO. So they are always having some kind of communication. And this is few of the more than 400 supplementary services available in the Tetra standard. Please continue.
Thank you, Ignacio. And finally, talking about Tetra, we offer this MCX interworking, which means that through this mission critical interworking protocol, which is of course based on 3GPP, IWF, allows interconnecting different types of networks. Meaning, as you can see in the image, we can see in the left side of the image an example of the Tetra network, PowerTrunk network, which is possible to interwork with third-party MSX network. Intersystem voice and data services between MSX users and Tetra users. Now we can jump to a different perspective, different technology as our private broadband solutions. First of all, a question that a lot of people do, and I think it's very important to talk about, is can a commercial network provide the same services as a professional network? Let's just compare them. Of course, we know that commercial networks cover an extensive range, but it's not complete. And in this kind of critical scenarios, there is the must of having complete coverage. Of course, covering 99.999% of the area. We have to know that the scenarios in which commercial networks and professional radio systems works are completely different, because in commercial networks there are many users per kilometer squared, and in our professional radio systems, utility, for example, scenarios, there are few users in the same area, right? Of course, the main objective of a company as PowerTrunk, it's guaranteeing the service on that area that we have the network on. not as in, for example, operators that they are their business, they make this business maximizing its ROI due to their own model, right? As I was talking about, yeah.
No, in other words, if a cellular user cannot make a call because the system is collapsed in an emergency situation, nothing happens, no. But it's not admissible for a utility company that, particularly in emergency situations, they will be having always granted the access. Is I mean, regardless if it's Tetra or DMR or P25, is extremely important. You can have a cellular operator, but you may have radios with a SIM. You can have access to a cellular system just if they are far away or wherever. But what is important is in the critical moments, the coverage has been granted and the service will be immediately affected.
Exactly.
Again, it doesn't mind if it's Tetra, DMR, conventional VHF radio or P25. Please
Yes.
continue.
Yeah, we're talking about professional radio systems, not just Tetra. And as Ignacio was talking, here availability is mandatory. You can't people's lives in utilities or other vertical markets as public safety, for example, are risking their lives, and they can't risk it everything into a call that may or may not work, right? So professional radio systems satisfy this point of availability, and the people who is going to make that call knows that that call is going to happen and the communication is going to be possible. One of these scenarios that we were talking before, it's this hybrid scenario, where Tetra and LTE live together. Tetra and LTE are not rivals. They are different points of view. They are different technologies. They provide different types of service that may be same and at some points. And here we can see the example of a Tetra plus LTE network that we have deployed in some references. For example, wireless broadband with the capability. We know that LTE is broadband and video can be streamed through this technology, not as Tetra, because as we talked before, it's a narrowband. Smart metering, bulk data, IoT, smart grids could go in the part of LTE, and of course Tetra, short data services, SDS, we were talking before, security services, and voice services for maintenance personnel, for example, in this concrete example. And of course, down here, we can see the SCADA applications or other applications, as well as computer-aided dispatches we talked before, after some slides, sorry. Of course, Tetra plus LTE networks are very, very convenient for different types of applications, and they can live together due to, for example, interworking solutions that PowerTrunk can supply. Integrated Tetra plus LTE solutions. That solutions are sustainable and very, very robust. Tetra has been continually deployed, and it offers a very extensive range of consolidated and trusted functionalities, but we know that Tetra still narrowband technology, which it's not as we know broadband wideband technology. So LTE and Tetra are not incompatible between themselves. Here we can see that again the hybrid Tetra plus LTE makes it one system. For example, in some reliability characteristics that Tetra and these mission critical networks help, and also in flexible networks, as we are talking, one or several radio accesses, Tetra, LTE, or both, why not? And several form factor networks, as we were talking before with Ignacio. There are a very large amount of possible scenarios, right?
Jesus, if you don't mind, let me continue from here because we are running a little bit out of time.
Okay.
So the concept here that we are presenting is we can have a common core in the EPC. We can have running the Tetra software and also the private LTE software. No? It means that you may have a hybrid solution with two layers, the Tetra layer with the Tetra base stations and the LTE layers. So you may have, for the distribution lines of the electricity company, you may have Tetra base stations, but maybe in the generation centers, you may have LTE hotspots. No? And that's why common command and control, common NMS, and two radio layers. It's probably an interesting solution that we would like to present to the utility markets here in Canada. Next.
Okay. Here there's our LTE portfolio, as before commented before, Tetra, but now we're talking about LTE, our RAN, that the form factor and power depending of the scope of the solution may change, our LTE core, the EPC, and finally the management tools that we're going to see in a few slides. Here there's a highlight.
Let me continue here. Sorry,
okay,
because
sure.
I have, it looks like my problems, at least with the slides are okay now.
Okay.
Well, it's fully 3GPP compliant, the release 14, recommendable to deploy in a hardware, a server to be installed at the premises of the utility company, but definitely we can have also a cloud version. Next. So the MCX, no? PowerTrunk also can provide MCX solutions. It means that you may have mission critical functionality in your smartphones. And also we can have a connectivity of these smartphones to the Tetra system through this interworking functionality, a gateway that we can implement. Next. Can you pass to the next slide, Jesus? Okay, thank you. As commented, the NMS can be hybrid, can be handled both layers, the Tetra and the LTE. We have also very sophisticated management tools like the MPA for analyzing the performance of the system. Is a typical example where there is a dominant base station, a dominant inode B, so you can remotely modify the radio frequency output power of the carriers regarding to have a more balanced situation. No? It's a very interesting tool that is helping to improve the performance of the system. Next. Also, we are working in our 5G solutions that we will launch in Canada next year. Will be 3GPP release 16. We are now working in some pilots in a domestic environment in Europe, but somehow with the same philosophy of having private radio systems. In terms of, just to clarify that the 5G core or the EPC core is fully developed and manufactured in our headquarters in Spain. The inode Bs or Ginode Bs are coming from third parties depending on the requirements of the frequencies that you may have. No? Here is a big debate in Canada. It's extremely difficult to get frequencies for broadband, also a narrow band. So we are keen to sit down with the customers to analyze what is the right frequency that hopefully we may allocate for a hybrid project. Next. Okay, and then we cannot forget the command and control. No, we have a solution called NGC Coco. It's a unified communication platform that is the radio dispatcher for the Tetra or the LTE system that we deploy. But we can do a full integration with any kind of radio legacy system. It means VHF, ADMR, P25, an airport environment, air to ground, HF communication. We have also broadband capabilities. We have the MCX dispatch capabilities. So this is the ideal solution complementing the radios and the system. Next. Some ideas of how is the width of the console, a touch screen operation, you can have any kind of patching, no? Different Tetra groups or Tetra users or Tetra with other legacy system, Tetra with cellular. Really, the platform has been installed or is deployed in 911 operation systems, no? Have hundreds of references, mainly for public safety and also for utilities. Next. Okay, we cannot forget cybersecurity, no? So it's commented that a lot of security levels in Tetra provided by the standard, but we provide a large portfolio of cybersecurity services, penetration testing, security surveillance, patching anti-malware, security assessment and consulting. Well, I can give you an example. A couple of years ago, it was a terrible cyber attack in TTC, in Toronto Transit Corporation, one of the few systems that was still in operation. It was our Tetra system, the Tetra system deployed by PowerTrunk. No? In the oil and gas section, not only in the utilities, the cybersecurity layer are extremely important. We have contracts in Turkey with Fujitsu, with TANAP, or in different Latin American countries where the cybersecurity has been a key factor for providing or for granting the service in every single moment. Next. Okay, and also we can work with third parties in terms of SCADA applications that we can find with the gateway, SCADA protocol converting to the PEI interface, that is a standard interface for the radio equipment, also adding some digital inputs and outputs. So definitely you will be having your own SCADA solutions. Tetra latency is really interesting, 40, 50 milliseconds, perhaps not enough for some telemetry applications, but for keep alive or other applications can be interested. Definitely in LTE is another story. No? Next. Okay, at the end of the day, the conclusion here is that you have a quite aged analog radio system that you may need to migrate. So you can have an investment with a company like PowerTrunk, giving you a lot of functionality over your narrowband channels, and also can be growing, providing 4G and 5G layers. No? So you can guarantee the investment for the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So it's not strange in PowerTrunk having operational and maintenance contract up to 20 years, granting this long life cycle. Next. Well, we talked before about the KAIDI, no? So I mean that Tetra with this SDM can help us to minimize the detection time for any shortage on the electricity and going ahead just with improving the KPIs to your customers, to your government, to your state. Next. Okay, successful stories, quite a lot. US, for example, cooperative energy, where it happens, so it may happen only in Alberta. Normally in Canada, there is a small number of electricity companies providing electricity in every province, but in US is the kingdom of the cooperatives, so you can have tens of cooperative energy companies sharing together the same radio system. We have provided large projects for oil and gas in Algeria, for Medgas, or chemical plants, refineries. Next. More refineries in Australia. We talk about the OPG, Ontario Power Generation, for the Darlington and Pickering nuclear plants. We have two systems, one for daily operations and one special shelters ready for emergency situations with a lot of options in terms of connectivity. Pipelines, gas in Peru, electricity companies in Spain like Itelazpi. Next. BC Hydro. It was the first Tetra contract of PowerTrunk in North America. Growing. Right now we will be around I think 40 plus base stations with still discussing different expansions for the project, adding different applications over the Tetra system. And then diverse power, that is a case study that is developed here. I think more or less is 1:45. We can make a break just for question and answers, and if we have time, we can run a few slides about this diverse power case study for Anne, if you think it's a good idea.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you very much, Jesus and Ignacio, for walking us through Tetra Solutions. I'll remind our audience that's still online that please type in your questions in the Q&A portion. If you have anything that you'd like to ask of Jesus and Ignacio, I can ask for it on your behalf. And while we're waiting for some questions to come in, maybe we can start with a couple of questions for you guys. Thanks again for that presentation. So maybe Jesus or Ignacio, can you tell us how many Tetra deployments there are overall in North America?
Well, I think we have seen the slide at the beginning of the presentation. We probably have around 20 deployments, even more in North America. We are also leading the North America Tetra Forum, so we can provide the audience the details. But yeah, it's growing, particularly in two vertical markets, public transportation and the utility segments. Particularly the consultancy companies on the utilities and transportation are more keen, let's say, to European standards than on other vertical markets that are more aligned with, say, US standards. But definitely, yes, it's growing, and we have a big expectation of the market for utilities for us. Yeah.
Very good. Cool. Now, can Tetra incorporate with P25 or other legacy radio technologies?
Absolutely. So we, as commented during the presentation today, we may have gateways not only at the command and control, at the CCOCO, also we can have gateways at the Tetra core. No? So it means that you can do automatically, you are connecting in the migration process from an existing DMR system to Tetra. When you're receiving a DMR group call, let's say 1, can be automatically generating a group call Tetra for group A. You can have, of course, any kind of patching at the command and control level. We have gateways for any kind of radio legacy system. Yes.
Excellent. How do you perceive Tetra's relationship to LTE and other broadband technologies? Is it competition or a complement?
Well, definitively it's complement. No? I mean, I may understand that in an industry or in a mine that is a very small territory to be covered, you may cover the system with a broadband solution, 4G or 5G. But energy company, utility company has a huge territory to cover. So LTE is a marvelous technology, but the radio frequency output power of an LTE device is 200 milliwatts. A Tetra handheld is 3 watts, a Tetra mobile is 10 watts. So the investment that you need to do for providing this broadband system in a huge territory make probably Tetra not, make probably private broadband not affordable for many customers. That's why we believe on the coexistence. We believe on hybrid projects. No, we deploy Tetra in large extensions, and we may have LTE or 5G in the future hotspots where you need a huge amount of data information. Or as commented before, we can have or the customers, they may have agreements with cellular operators. So we may provide the Tetra system, and then with the IWF, with interworking functionality, we may be able to connect with the LTE core that the customers already have. No? So we are very flexible on trying to find the right way to provide a solution, either as a full private Tetra plus LTE from PowerTrunk, or connecting our Tetra systems to existing cellular projects, private or public. No.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Finally, how would you compare and contrast Tetra to cellular-based solutions? I know you mentioned that a little bit already, but yeah.
Well, I think that is a case now in Vancouver, no, where the TransLink have the plan to deploy mission critical communications for their radios over cellular system, and it looks like finally the operators couldn't fulfill the SLAs required for a mission critical project. No, so in general, I mean, cellular is for what it is, and of course, you sign an agreement with a cellular operator, you need to be particularly careful of the quality of service that must be granted in an emergency situation. That is normally when the radio system is collapsed. It was not a long time ago that the Rogers was collapsed in practically half of the country. So it's good to have a cellular project as, let's say, for specific non-vital applications. For your vital communications, our recommendation is always having a private radio system. Again, regardless the technology, but private.
Yeah, no, that's great. That makes total sense. Well, we have a couple of minutes. Jesus, Ignacio, if you want to walk us through a couple more of these success stories, you know, we can look into a couple of them as we close. We have 5 minutes or so.
Okay, maybe Jesus, you can cover this diverse power case study.
Sure. We are going to show a brief case study of diverse power in Georgia, in the USA. The beginning of the deployment was in 2013. As Ignacio commented before, there's this very big amount of cooperatives in the United States, and then we make a network covering plus 70% of the whole state of Georgia. We work with the cooperatives and other entities to aid it build out, and also autonomous daily operation and joint operations in crisis. Here we can see the very brief explanation of the Tetra radio system with 63 base stations, 4 cooperatives covered, and 8 Garo cooperatives, redundant control systems, as we commented before. There's the capability of Tetra to have each node or the core redundant, and approximately there's a very large amount of subscribers in the whole state. Also, dozens of SCADA points. We talked before about these SCADA applications, and also the feature package AVL system. There's a very key point here where the system holds this kind of very hard environments, as for example in 2018, the October, there was a Hurricane Michael walking around Georgia, and there was massive damage to a transmission and distribution system in the Patalua district in Georgia. 95% of the state meters out in the 4-county area, they had no transmission until Saturday afternoon, and there was, of course, greater winds in the state. As I was talking before, there was the multiple challenges during this disaster, and operational communications and coordinations wasn't one of them, thanks to this network. Full communication with the crews, Garo and outside crews, vehicle location on all units, including personnel using handhelds, and emergency functionality on all units and personnel. Of course, we have learned many lessons, but in communications, having their own hardened radio communication system is a huge advantage in crisis, as we just saw before. And having a shared hardened radio system is irreplaceable in a crisis. Tetra provides the multiple capabilities to share talk groups and radio assets among partners, and the ability to communicate and see personnel and assets, it's key to safe restoration work during and of course after the disasters. This was the summary of the challenges and the solutions we did there. You can see, for example, utilizing geofencing, static points of interest, AVL reporting of all queues, proposing, of course, build tetra radio system, matching location, and use symbols to give more information of each one of the assets. Of course, in the challenges, queues working in unfamiliar areas, the lack of interoperable communications, or dispatch keeping of track of queues, safety of course of the queues during the restoration, and many more. Here's one of the solutions that it's the cell on wheels. As we can see, it's a vehicle that has installed into itself a 35 watt tetra-sized SBA at the base station. There's a quick deployment under 30 minutes. So this means that you can deploy your own cell wherever you want in less than 30 minutes. Multiple power trailer, RV service, overhead, underground, and generator. This is the other point of view of the cell on wheels. We can see this brief information here. And also the AVL is looking at different sets of vehicles, facilities, tower sites, or landing zone, or other substations, utilizing also geofencing and matching the location of crews with power restoration orders.
Just commenting, just the AVL, I mean, the GPS receiver is a standard feature of any Tetra radio. So it's included in the price, and it's just, even the way that the GPS information is submitted is according to the standard. So you may have a Tetra system with radios from Leonardo, from Motorola, from PowerTrunks, with AVL, and all of them compatible with our command and control. It's standardized also the way that the location information is embedded in the source data messages of Tetra. Okay.
This has been all. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I give you the word, Farhan.
Thank you so much. I really hope that if not now during the presentation, we may have some questions from the audience later on by mail, and we'll be keen to provide the responses, and definitively the material will be available at the Electricity Canada web. And thanks to Farhan and all the team for allowing us to do this seminar.
Thank you very much, Jesus and Ignacio. That was really great. I appreciate you coming on. I'd like to thank PowerTrunk as well for producing this webinar. Just before we let our audience go, just a couple of reminders. All of our future events and webinars can be found in our monthly newsletter, Current Affairs, which goes out monthly at the start of each month. Or you can go to the events section in our website at electricity.ca. This webinar also will be available online in our conversation series library. Again, in closing, thank you, PowerTrunk, and Ignacio and Jesus for your presentation, and our audience for joining us. This concludes today's session. Be safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye for now. Thanks so much.